Michael, I pray that you and your family are doing well. Tell us about the lockdown. What's it like in your area?
Hi, Wendy. Well, it's eerily quiet. As you mentioned, New Zealand is now in an enforced lockdown. And as we past the 2-week mark and head into our third week, the country very much has come to a standstill. The normally bustling cities are completely silent. The commutes, there is no traffic, and all businesses, bar core essential services, are closed. And it's had a real impact on the daily lives of everyone here in New Zealand. All New Zealanders are required to stay in their homes and are not permitted to travel other than to walk, possibly just not much more than a mile from their home. So it has dramatically changed the way people here are handling life.
Wow, and it's, of course, you're going into your fall season after a very warm summer, and that's hard to do when the weather's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, look, we've had a beautiful summer, and it's been wonderful. We think it's probably helped that New Zealanders have been healthy, but we're mindful now that as we head into the cooler months, the impact on the vulnerable in those cooler months and the typical flu seasons as well. So it has been led in much and in part this lockdown by our Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, who 2 weeks ago called our nation to a level 4, which is the highest level of lockdown. Her goal and the government's goal was to go hard and to go early. The borders were essentially closed and the mandatory lockdown put in place, which of course meant the ban on all mass gatherings and the disruption just to the way of life that New Zealanders are accustomed to.
Well, Michael, let's talk about the good news. Reports are that the number of new cases has fallen in New Zealand despite a huge increase in testing, with around 1,200 confirmed cases and only 1 coronavirus death so far. Why do you think your country has been able to control its outbreak so quickly?
There's strong public support for the control measures. Just recent polling by media companies show that the public are with the government. They want the government to be hard, despite the amount of pain that is causing in the short term. And there's certainly a lot of economic pain with many businesses closing and reports of just incredible job losses to come. But the containment and the isolation, the goal is to be able to contain the community transmission and to see if that can be stamped out. And there are calls for even further and tighter restrictions on the borders as well. So while at the moment our borders are essentially closed, returning New Zealanders are permitted to self-isolate. There are calls for mandatory quarantine upon return of people coming into New Zealand.
Interesting. Well, the good news has some calling for an ease to the lockdown for the Easter weekend, and but your Prime Minister is saying not yet. She is not in favor of easing any of the lockdown restrictions, right?
You know what? Our Prime Minister was just talking a day or two ago about the Easter weekend, and she said, sorry, it's not possible. New Zealanders will not be able to do the traditional things that they do over the Easter weekends. That includes not attending regular church services or in gatherings, nor even the traditional holiday weekend travel to the holiday home by the beach. New Zealanders are required to stay put. So it does mean a big change for New Zealanders, and particularly for people of faith in the way that they worship on this very special weekend.
Absolutely. Well, you are the head of New Zealand's premier Christian network, Shine TV. Here at CBN, only essential personnel are reporting to work. What's it like at Shine? Are you guys still operating?
You know what? We're lucky that we are able to be considered an essential service. Broadcasting is an essential service in New Zealand, and we see too that and it's true that it is, but the real essential service that we see is to be able to broadcast the message of hope. And at this time when New Zealanders are not able to leave their homes, they're not able to meet together or attend their regular church services, to be able to have the message of hope of Jesus and the gospel broadcasted into their homes. It's important now more than ever. We are limited. We run skeleton crews. We have a very small number of people in our studios, but the rest of our teams and much of the work has been done remotely. We have producers who are able to produce remotely. And so, these are unprecedented times, but it's very encouraging. What we see with our own production is that where we have turned our efforts to is producing new programs such as Church at Home. And that's the response to people not able to get out of their homes. So what does it look like? How do New Zealanders worship? And we think that there's a role for Christian broadcasting to be able to help people in New Zealand to be able to come together and when they can't visit to their local church, still provide a place for them to be able to worship and to connect.
Right. Well, let's talk about Easter Sunday. New Zealand is a predominantly Christian nation. How will this Easter be different for believers in your country, Michael?
Well, as we've talked about with mass gatherings banned, it's for the first time in many people's memories, we will not be able to attend a church service. And, that's heartbreaking for churches and for Christians right across the country. Many churches have gone online, and there are a number of innovative ways that churches are looking to do this, including churches offering online prayer meetings, online small groups via popular video chat groups, and of course the streaming of church services as well. And on Shine TV, we'll be broadcasting Good Friday and Easter Sunday reflections as well. I think, too, that it's just an opportunity that the church is discovering that church was never really about the building, but it was about the people. And so while, New Zealanders are not able to gather as they would like to and have been able to, they're looking for new ways that they can connect with their communities, whether it's online, whether it's dropping things into neighbours' letterboxes and asking, how can we help each other? And that's true for the Christians in New Zealand too.
Wow. Well, how will you and your family worship this Easter?
Well, I imagine it's going to be a fairly quiet one. I'll be working and helping produce our Church at Home series. But other than that, I think it'll be just a quiet time with the family. We live not too far from the beach, of course, being an island nation, and I think some quiet, reflective walks on the beach. If I might say, along with quite a number of our other neighbours and isolating in their own bubbles, it's become a very popular pastime.
Well, you'll be walking on the beach in New Zealand. I'll be walking on the beach on the other side of the world, Virginia Beach. I live just a mile from the beach. So I will be thinking about you and your wonderful country and your amazing hospitality that you all gave me when I was there visiting 10 years ago. And I hope you enjoyed your recent trip to Virginia Beach, which, by the way, was good timing because you were here March 1st, and then right after you left, no more flights in or out. So we thank God that you were able to make it. Well, Michael,
yeah, no, it was look. Thank you, Wendy.
Yes, Michael Brown of Shine TV in Auckland, New Zealand. I always have to say Auckland because that's how it sounds. Thanks so much for being with us. God bless you and God bless New Zealand.